Today we're going to reach across the Tasman Sea from New Zealand and talk to Paul Evans, who's in Queensland, Australia, which is, as we all know here in New Zealand, very hot. It's summer here on the south of the equator, and for us it's been a little bit of a heat wave. Paul, not so badly in New Zealand as you. I know that because I've been watching those heat waves and those thunderstorms that are coming across New Zealand, or I'm sorry, across Australia, but it's still a little warm. We're not quite used to using air conditioning here, and all of a sudden there's a need, and it's kind of scary in the Marlborough area of New Zealand. But anyway, Paul's very much involved in Thailand, working with children, and I want to let Paul talk a little bit about that as well as how he got to where he is. So that being said, Paul, the podium is yours.
Thanks, Rob. Well, it's my pleasure to have the opportunity to introduce myself to Wash. It's an exciting opportunity to be a member of Rotary, and I've been attending Rotary in Chiang Mai periodically over the last couple of years. And today, my wife and I are living in Thailand 3/4 of the year. We manage a training centre for 43 Hill Tribe children at the present moment. It's called Rescue Mission for Children. It's located in Mae Soi, Chiang Rai, which is the northernmost province. It goes up to the northern border is the Mekong River, and on the other side of the Mekong is Burma, or formerly known as Burma, which is Myanmar, and Laos. And further down we have Cambodia and Vietnam. In all of this region, there are hill tribes, and these people are often stateless. They came from southern China in the last few hundred years, inhabited the Mekong highlands, and they're some of the most exploited people on earth. They are often trafficked. The young girls are often trafficked into slavery, into the sex industry, and also the boys and even the adults are often trafficked into agricultural and industrial slavery. So we're involved in that at a grassroots level. And our model, the Australian charity that my wife and I helped establish 20 years ago, we helped the founders establish it, and we have been helping children all that time. Many hundreds, in fact thousands of children have been through the training centre over the last 20 years, and many of them work in agribusiness in South Korea. Some of them are in the health industry as nurses, and there are many other professionals. But our hope is that they would all get an education in the Thai system, and that we would enable them to get citizenship and the opportunities that so many of our children are afforded. But as far as Wash goes, and as far as Rotary goes, my hope is that I would be able to contribute to the Rotary organisation. I bring a background in agribusiness and environment. I've worked in the mining industry in Australia, in a very big industry, and all the projects that I've ever done in the mining industry have been related to water, and so I've been involved with water purification projects and water storage, discharge projects, highly sensitive projects, because some of those projects involve the discharge of water on a macro scale into a region that is the catchment for the Great Barrier Reef, and we all know that that great wonder of the world needs to be protected, and the discharge of mining water into that region must be managed in a way that it is environmentally sensitive and sustainable. So with that, would just like to talk a little bit about how we got to where we are now. As I said, along the goanna path, when a goanna moves along the ground, it leaves a trail, a sideways, right and left sideways trail. And the goanna path of life has taken me through being an orchardist as a young man, graduate from Queensland University, Gatton, and horticulturist. It's taken me along a path where I was an orchardist and a consultant in the avocado industry. For those that don't like avocados, well then, I'm really sorry for you, because they're the best food in the world. But 25 years as a consultant in that industry and some postgrad studies in e-business led me to an incubator that I spent 8 years in, hatching out technology for supply chain or value chain management in the fresh produce industry. And some technology transfer from fresh produce to livestock. When Meat and Livestock Australia saw what I was doing in e-business, creating electronic marketplaces, they wanted to do some projects, and so we did some pilot projects with them as well. And this was all this research, and these projects were based around developing, changing the paradigm from supply chain management, where there's just a whole bunch of people participating in the supply chain, to value chain management, which was all about, really driving out the waste from the chain and ensuring that the people that were in the chain got rewarded commensurately with their input into the chain. So that was a great part of my life, and certainly a great part of my passion was to try and create equity between the producer and the buyer, because there's so much inequity in our developed society in this arena, where often retailers and wholesalers get the lion's share of the return, and producers are left to struggle with barely enough. So having been a producer myself, that was a really great passion for me. And I guess that would highlight one of the reasons why I love the work that I do with the children from the Aka tribe in the Mekong Highlands, and also the opportunity I have with Wash, because I have a passion for equity, to try and leave something behind that would give people the opportunity to be able to create more equity and a better world for themselves, but also a better world for those that will come behind us. And when we get a few years behind us, well, then we also have the opportunity to be able to pass it on, to be able to give that information and that assistance to people that would normally not be afforded that opportunity, the opportunity to collect that information. And we all know that collecting information is a part of driving plans and ensuring a future for all of us. So that's really how we got there, being involved in raising funds, developing an organisation, working for a number of years as a consultant and management and senior manager in business, and then taking the opportunity to actually, when I got to a jumping off point, to actually take the big leap and go to Thailand and manage the mission that we've been involved with. I am a board member and have been on the board since it was founded, and have great confidence in our board and its capabilities. We are in fact all volunteers on our board, and I'm a self-funded volunteer in all the work that I do up in Thailand. So we are always looking for opportunities to be able to raise funds and to leverage our networks and our abilities, because there are a lot of wonderful people out there who really want to be involved in programs and projects, the kind of programs and projects that I'm currently involved in, and they don't have the opportunity to actually be the hands and feet on the ground, but they have the opportunity to be able to sow into it and make a major contribution. So together, my son wrote an essay when we took him there when he was 15. He wrote an essay, and we're very proud that he won the senior state final for this essay. It was about exploitation of children in underdeveloped countries, and he won a national award, a state award, and was in the national final. And he wrote these words. He wrote, "One can make a difference, but together we can change our world." And we really believe that. We really believe that we have that opportunity, and we embrace, and I embrace the ethos of Rotary. I've had a look into it, and I really am happy to have the opportunity to join the club, and I'm grateful for my membership. So that's about where we are. That's about what we are doing and how we actually got there. And sorry, it was a bit lengthy, but we're talking the pathway. As I said, the pathway was a long pathway. Sometimes to the right, sometimes to the left, but it eventually led us to what we're really passionate about.
So how did you actually get into Thailand? Why Thailand? What was the seed that got you there? I'm kind of curious.
Okay, great question, Rob. We got into Thailand when because we met some people that were raising funds for stateless children to develop a training centre for them, and we met them, and we had a discussion about it, and we decided that it really was something that we were really interested in, my wife and I. And so with my background in agribusiness, the founder of Rescue Mission for Children asked me to contribute some information in the early planning stage. And so I got involved from the foundation, from the grassroots of the organisation, from the concept. I got involved in helping them to understand what the requirements were, and then collecting all of the requirements for a plan. And then that developed. We raised some funds, and the founders went over there and established Rescue Mission for Children, and then we continued to support them. And every time they came back to Australia, we had lengthy workshops in my office where we particularly focused on the agribusiness arena and sustainable agriculture. We were able to develop a good business plan or an organisational plan for them, including offer some consultancy in the area of organisational structure and marketing. I have a postgrad in strategic marketing, and so gave me the opportunity to be able to help them to plan the development. And Rotary got involved with a number of those projects, and provided some great infrastructure over the years. And indeed last year we had a Rotaract group from New Zealand and Sydney, and one lass from Sydney and another from the UK who came over to and as a part of Project Starfish, and came over and developed helped us develop 2 orchards and provided us with the funds to sustain that orchard through the establishment phase up until this point where we are now. We've now handed it over. It's no longer a project anymore. We've now handed it over to operations. So they were an exemplary bunch of young people who really left a mark, and with them came a dentist and a student doctor who was in her last year of studies, and they were also able to help us get to provide some care for the children, and also to get an update on our care program. So all in all, that's how I got involved. That's how I got involved with Rescue Mission for Children, and have been involved for 20 years.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to my story and some of the things I've been doing too. It always starts out by talking to somebody, and they gradually get you hooked in, and before you know it, you're right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
can't extricate yourself from it.
Yeah.
You know, when you and I talked earlier, you talked about some of the tech programs that you've got for the children. For instance, we talked a little bit about the hydroponics, the agriculture, and things like that, and how you actually train them for potential jobs to get citizenship and all that. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Certainly. Firstly, the really key point there is that it's about getting these children citizenship, because if they're not all going to be agriculturalists, and what we want to do is, well, how we do that. The 3 pillars of our organisation are care, education, and protection. And I'm very much focused on the educational program. The educational program, how that fits with the agribusiness background that I have, is that the orchards and the hydroponic system, we've developed a modified hydroponic system, which I'll go into in a second. But those things are really there as a demonstration, and they do provide us with some food. They don't actually have a great impact upon our budget by providing us with all the food we need, because they in terms of fresh produce, but they do provide us with some produce. However, their real value is in vocational training, and the vocational training program that we have is about encouraging children to actively be involved in learning, and to see how learning is not just learning information. It's about being able to apply information with understanding. And so we have these workshops. We have a model that where we don't necessarily design a big curriculum, because we've got young students that range from 4 years old to 15 years old, and presently, and those students we teach them all at the same time. And the very young ones, they often don't come along to the vocational training classes. They can go and play on the swings and that. But by the time they're about 7 or so, they're really keen to learn. And so we involve this vocational training program, the agribusiness in the vocational training program, for a number of reasons. And the main reasons are because we see that vocational training, beyond an education in the Thai system, and beyond other and when I'm talking about the whole education now, vocational training education, not just the agribusiness, but teaching English as a foreign language, barista training, then the cultural, encouragement of the cultural development, the cultural arts. This tribe does magnificent cross-stitching, and the girls, do cross-stitching. Well, our house parents actually are involved in passing it on, passing that cultural heritage onto the children as a part of our vocational training program. In respect to barista, well, barista offers an opportunity, even as it does here in Australia and over the world. With a burgeoning coffee industry in Thailand, it offers an opportunity for those that will be able to go on to tertiary education to be able to get some kind of part-time work while they're doing that and fund themselves through that. So they don't fall through the cracks after we've put 9 or 10 years, or in some cases, up to 14 years into them. And just while I'm talking about that, 14 years is not just a magic number. 14 years is we have one graduate who now works for the United Nations as a health consultant. He's a qualified RN, registered nurse, was with us for 14 years. And this young boy would have never had the opportunity of getting citizenship or an education. Now he's a citizen with a passport. He lives in Belgium, and he works for the UN as a consultant to Southeast Asia on health. And that's a revolving door thing, because he's come from a disadvantaged background, and now he's helping disadvantaged people in Southeast Asia by linking them with the UN and the initiatives that they have to protect and help develop those communities and those people groups, sometimes not so well recognised people groups, and certainly not well educated people groups in that region and throughout our world indeed. So the vocational training program is integral to developing a competitive advantage, because otherwise our students, they graduate with Thai qualifications, and they've got to compete in the Thai market, and sometimes there's some discrimination, or they may not be the best student, but if we can give them a broader and a more rounded education through vocational training, it creates a competitive advantage for those students when they do go to apply for jobs in the workplace. Or, on the other hand, it gives them the opportunity to leverage skills that they learned in agriculture, like skills of the powers of observation, diligence by being involved in a system that requires, some monitoring and controlling and those sort of things. All of those capabilities and competencies are things that we want to instruct the children in and give them the power to be able to leverage that small capability that they have, not just in their education programs that they might be involved with, but indeed throughout life. So that's why vocational training is just such a real a passion to me, and a great opportunity for me to pass my really genuine passion of agribusiness onto children that can utilise it to benefit their families and others.
It's really interesting when you talk about vocational training and all that. It's what I've learned on a lot of humanitarian projects. We always talk about the WASH projects and all that, but I guess it's really humanitarian. It really is a wicked problem. It's a multidisciplinary approach that is needed. Education is huge, and not just education for the users you're working with, but also for the volunteers, because you're going into another culture. And sometimes we always assume that we come in with the best solution because we're smarter or whatever, but we don't understand the realities of that location. So, which obviously the locals do, whether it's an issue of logistics or politics or culture or whatever it's going to be. That's something that you learn, I guess, sometimes the hard way doing these projects. It's really cool to see you talking about that. I think that education, understanding about vocational training and all that's very important, and I think that's something you can definitely bring to the table for the WASH group. The other thing I was really excited about to hear about was the spin-offs. You talk about a program for children now, but now you're in a vocational training and people are going various places. I've seen that too. It's not necessarily a straight line in these projects. So you end up going all different directions as you try to navigate from point A to point B, and I think that's really exciting.
Yes, it is, Rob, and it does develop an augmented model. What we're seeing is we're already seeing that people get to hear about our hydroponics system that we call water culture. It's a modified system where we use bamboo for trellising, and and rice husks for media, and we grow vegetables in an open system. It's not closed, so it's not reticulated like hydroponics, but the run-to-waste system actually produces produce on 2 different layers. But it utilises, the important thing is that it utilises resources that are available, that are readily available within these communities, within these developing communities, and that is and that has given us the opportunity when word gets out, which it does. When word gets out, that gives us the opportunity for this augmented approach to actually get some traction, and that is I'm already instructing Hill Tribe communities in different orcharding techniques and those sort of things, like field grafting avocados. They're growing seedling avocados, so I'm helping them to graft their avocados so that their avocados will be able to produce high quality produce and high volumes of it that will give them the opportunity to be able to break into other markets, to be able to begin to supply markets in Bangkok and maybe even export markets. So and giving them and sharing with them how they can actually achieve these goals without having to secure massive investments by group marketing and group development and participating, in a group where aggregated supply and market information are the drivers of this kind of development within the wider regional communities. And just as a matter of interest, this is how passionate they are about it. I showed them, I had a workshop there and a field day, and I showed them how to do grafting and the preparation that was needed, some intensive preparation that was needed to prepare the trees for side grafting and that sort of thing. And I suggested to them that they think about, maybe one day, like having one packing shed, not instead of all of them packing separately, having one packing shed, and the whole concept of group marketing. And I just and most of this is communicated by gesturing and Google, so Google Translate. So it's astonishing that they get the thing, that they get the picture. And next week when I turned up, this guy had a list of 67 growers of avocados in the district, and that sort of thing that, that can be, that can actually form a marketing group. So you can see that, they're keen and they really want to get ahead, and we have the opportunity to be able to transfer that information and that technology to them if we're just open and have that desire in our hearts to help.
It's really funny as you were talking about avocados and all that. I confess, I'm not the avocado eater in my family. My wife is, but she's slowly converting me, Paul. Don't worry, she's really working very hard. I've gone through guacamole now, and a lot of it I actually mix it in my Mexican dishes and all that stuff. But so you're talking about avocados, and you made a comment about, well, if you don't like avocados, those leading statements. Hey, look, it's been really great talking to you. And I think that a lot of us can glean a lot of information from this talk with you. Again, wash projects, humanitarian projects are very, very complex projects, and you really got to hit it from different disciplines to make it work. And I think that you're going to be a very valuable asset to the wash community. I hope that other members get a chance to see this video and get a chance to reach out to you also and reel you in as one of the members for the club.
Well, thank you, Rob. That's great, and I'm really happy to be able to be a member. My in-country club will be that I'll connect with in Thailand will be Chiang Mai, and great model that you have to have an eClub, which because I'm a few hours away, and I certainly can't get there once a month or once every couple of weeks. So. Great opportunity for me to be able to be involved, and from the water perspective, well then I'm really keen to see how we can develop some more sustainable models for that not only for the for water in general, but for the storage. In Thailand, I think I mentioned to you, in Thailand we have the problem of either too much water or not enough. So we need to really focus on how we manage it, and part of management is storage and usage, and then the sustainability. That'll give us sustainability, but also like sustainability comes from being able to reuse water and to be able to convert water back to B-class agricultural water and those sort of things, to develop a more holistic program, and to ensure that we really be able to leverage all the capabilities of WASH, because I'm sure that there's a number of your members that I'll get to know that have a lot of expertise that we can mine in that area, and I'll be looking forward to the opportunity to collaborate with other members and your good self. Thank you.
And you. Cheers.
Okay. Thanks again, Rob. Bye.